If you like Billy Joel, we're working our way through his song from 1989, We Didn't Start the Fire, one history topic at a time. We've covered Harry Truman, Doris Day, now we're on to Red China. So join me as we can make our way through the song. In 1949, 1/4 of the world's population changed governments almost overnight. In the United States, well, it's called a red nightmare. Let's talk about Red China and why it sent shockwaves around the globe. For decades before 1949, China was a country in chaos. The ruling nationalist government under Chiang Kai-shek was constantly at war with warlords, with Japan, and most crucially with Mao Zedong's communist forces. During World War II, both sides temporarily united against Japan, but once the war ended, civil war resumed. It was brutal, it was bloody, and it was devastating. By 1949, the communists had the upper hand. They had stronger organization, they had peasant support, and momentum. And then on October 1st, 1949, Mao Zedong stood in Tiananmen Square and declared the founding of the People's Republic of China. For the United States and the West, this was more than just a power shift. It was a Cold War earthquake. The name Red China wasn't just a label. It was a political warning. In American newspapers, red meant communist, and it was used to evoke fear and urgency. The U.S. had just finished fighting World War II and was already locking into a Cold War with the Soviet Union. Now, suddenly China, the world's most populous country, had joined the communist side. And this wasn't just domino theory. It was like watching a whole continent tilt. Americans feared that communism was spreading like wildfire across Asia. Many politicians called it the fall of China, accusing President Truman of losing China, even though the U.S. hadn't controlled it in the first place. This fear would drive U.S. foreign policy ideas for decades. Now, when the communists took over the mainland, the national government under Chiang Kai-shek fled to the island of Taiwan, which was then called Formosa. From there, they continued to claim that they were the real government in China. And for years, so did the United States. In fact, until the 1970s, the U.S. refused to recognize the communist government in Beijing. Instead, the U.S. kept diplomatic ties with Taiwan and even helped keep them in China's seat at the United Nations. That Cold War standoff between the communist mainland and nationalist Taiwan would shape everything from the Korean War to Vietnam and beyond. Under Mao Zedong, China underwent massive and catastrophic changes. He launched the Great Leap Forward, which took place in the 1950s, late 50s, and it was an attempt to radically industrialize and collectivize farming. And the result was, a widespread famine that killed tens of millions. In the 1960s, Mao unleashed the Cultural Revolution, which targeted teachers, artists, and political rivals as enemies of the revolution. Students formed Red Guard units, attacking anything seen as old or counter-revolutionary. China under Mao was radical, isolated, and deeply unstable. But to many in the West, it was all summed up in one label: Red China. A Cold War adversary, a nuclear power, and a question mark the world couldn't ignore. Why does it matter? Well, the rise of Red China wasn't just a domestic revolution. It was a global game changer. It marked the birth of a new superpower, it shifted the Cold War balance, and triggered decades of U.S. foreign policy built on containment, fear, and rivalry. Even today, the tensions between mainland China and Taiwan, and China's role in global politics, are rooted in what happened in 1949. When Mao declared, "The Chinese people have stood up," the world listened and started bracing for what came next. Next up in We Didn't Start the Fire, Johnny Ray. Follow along to keep unpacking every lyric, one bit of history at a time. That's Red China, things you should know by being alive. Thanks for watching.